When humanity marched to war, I finally understood why the stars quake in silence. I had seen wars before. I had studied them from a distance, through reports, numbers, cold images, and carefully edited history. I believed war was loud, chaotic, full of rage and confusion. I believed it was driven by hatred alone. I was wrong. When humanity marched to war, it was not chaos I saw first. It was order. It was purpose. It was a quiet, heavy determination that felt more frightening than any scream. They did not rush forward like wild creatures. They prepared like beings who knew the cost and accepted it fully. Cities did not panic. People did not beg. Instead, they stood straighter. They spoke softer. Parents hugged their children longer. Soldiers checked their equipment again and again, not because they were afraid of death, but because they did not want to fail those standing behind them. I was there as an observer, part of a coalition that believed humans were weak, emotional, and divided. Many believed they would break quickly. After all, humans argued among themselves often. They fought over ideas, borders, and beliefs. Surely when faced with a greater enemy, they would collapse. That was the mistake everyone made. Humanity argues when it is safe. Humanity debates when it has time. But when humanity decides to stand together, it becomes something else entirely. I remember the moment the march began. There were no dramatic speeches filled with hate. There was no celebration of violence. There was only a simple message shared across their networks and spoken in every language. We will protect what is ours. That was all. Not conquest, not glory, protection. That single word carried a weight that bent the air around it. The soldiers moved as one, millions of them, from different nations, cultures, and histories. Their uniforms were not identical, but their purpose was. Some carried advanced weapons that hummed with quiet power. Others carried older tools, maintained with care and pride. Engineers marched beside infantry. Medics walked among them, already stained with the knowledge of what was coming. Even civilians played their part, working in factories, hospitals, farms, and data centers. No one asked if it was worth it. The question had already been answered. As the fleets lifted from the planet, the sky darkened with ships of every shape and size. Humanity did not hide its numbers. It did not pretend to be small. It showed the universe exactly how many it was willing to send. That was when I felt the first tremor, not in the ground, but inside myself. Other species watched from afar, confident in their superiority. They had stronger bodies, longer lives, more advanced technology, but they did not understand what they were seeing. Humans were not marching because they believed they would win easily. They were marching because they believed losing was unacceptable. There is a difference, and it is everything. When the first battles began, the stars themselves seemed to watch. Humanity did not fight with reckless fury. They fought with patience. They adapted faster than any simulation had predicted. When a strategy failed, they did not argue about blame. They changed it. When a weapon proved ineffective, they modified it in the field. When communication lines were cut, they created new ones using whatever they had. I watched a unit hold a position long after logic said retreat. When asked later why they stayed, a soldier answered simply, "If we moved, they would reach the city." That was the entire explanation. No talk of heroism, no expectation of reward, just responsibility. That word appeared again and again in human behavior. Responsibility to comrades, responsibility to civilians, responsibility to future generations who would never know their names. I saw humans rescue wounded enemies, not because they were kind, but because they believed lines still mattered, even in hell. I saw them mourn their dead briefly, then stand up and continue, carrying grief like a silent companion instead of a chain. The enemy expected fear. They expected humans to beg or rage or flee. Instead, they met a wall that moved forward slowly, relentlessly, learning with every step. Every loss made humanity sharper, not weaker. Every sacrifice strengthened their resolve instead of breaking it. I began to understand why older civilizations spoke of humans with unease. Humans are not the strongest, they are not the fastest, they are not the most advanced, but they possess a rare and dangerous trait. They remember. They remember why they fight. They remember who they fight for, and they remember every lesson written in blood. As the war dragged on, the universe changed its tone. Systems that once ignored humanity now watched closely. Allies became more respectful, enemies became cautious, neutral powers began to whisper. The stars themselves, ancient and distant, seemed to dim, as if unwilling to witness what came next. Humanity pushed forward not with joy, but with grim acceptance. They did not glorify war, they endured it. That endurance was terrifying. I stood on a command deck when a human admiral received news of catastrophic losses. The room was silent. The admiral closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them and gave new orders. His voice did not shake. Later, someone asked how he could remain calm. He replied, "If I fall apart, so do they." That was humanity in one sentence. They carry the weight so others do not have to. Near the end, when victory finally tilted toward humanity, there was no celebration. There was exhaustion. There was mourning. There was relief mixed with sorrow. When the enemy surrendered, humans did not cheer. They lowered their weapons. They began counting the dead. They began rebuilding immediately, even before the smoke cleared. They turned their eyes back to the stars, not with hunger, but with warning. I understood then why the stars quake. They quake not because humanity is cruel, but because humanity is willing to stand when others retreat, willing to suffer so others may live, willing to become monsters if that is what protection requires, yet striving every moment not to lose their humanity in the process. The stars have seen countless empires rise and fall. They have seen species burn themselves out in rage or rot in comfort. Humanity is different. Humanity knows it is fragile. Humanity knows it can fail, and that knowledge makes it dangerous. When humanity marched to war, the universe learned a lesson it will never forget. Do not mistake kindness for weakness. Do not mistake debate for division. And above all, do not force humanity to choose between peace and survival, because when it does, the stars themselves will tremble, and silence will follow in its wake.